Tyler Blake stood at his station on the Coalition flagship Celestial Dawn, surrounded by towering aliens who shot him sideways glances. He knew that look all too well, the silent, unspoken judgment that said, "How did this primitive monkey end up here?" After 5 years serving as the ship's weapons specialist, Tyler had learned to tune into their subtle cues, almost hearing their thoughts. "Commander Blake?" Captain Coronis's deep rumble interrupted his musings. His crystalline exoskeleton reflected the soft glow of the bridge's holographic displays. "Please stop spinning that part iCal destabilizer like it's one of your Earth toys." With practiced ease, Tyler snatched the advanced weapon mid-spin and shot a sheepish grin at the captain. "Sorry, Cap, just keeping my reflexes sharp." It was a habit he couldn't shake. The destabilizer's perfect balance made it so satisfying to flip around. The hum it gave off when spun, pure music to his ears. The rest of the bridge crew, their secondary breathing organs fluttering in disapproval, exchanged glances. All but Lieutenant Lily Whitaker, the ship's Centurion tactical officer. She had come to understand Tyler's quirks over time, and even indulged him by playing video games with him occasionally, though she still couldn't fathom why humans enjoyed simulated combat. "I sometimes wonder if letting humans into the Coalition was a mistake," muttered Commander Zarok, his antennae twitching from his station. The towering insectoid probably thought his translator was malfunctioning, but Tyler caught every word. Before he could fire off a snarky response, the ship's alert system blared to life. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge, and holographic displays erupted with tactical data. "Multiple hostile signatures detected!" Lily Whitaker's forearms moved rapidly over her console. "Configuration unknown. Energy readings are off the charts." The main view screen lit up, revealing an image that sent a chill down Tyler's spine. A fleet of sleek black ships cut through space like sharks gliding through water. Their hulls absorbed the starlight, creating a dark void against the backdrop of the cosmos. But it wasn't just the eerie look of the ships that caught Tyler's attention. It was the strange spiral pattern of energy building at their bow sections. "By the first ones," Captain Coronis whispered, his crystalline form dimming slightly in distress. "Those are Nixari vessels. They were thought to be extinct." Without warning, the enemy ships opened fire. Tyler's jaw went slack as their weapons tore through the Coalition fleet's most advanced shields like paper. 3 escort cruisers blinked out of existence in silent, fiery explosions before anyone could react. "All hands, battle stations!" Coronis's voice boomed through the ship. "Commander Blake, prepare all weapon systems." Tyler's fingers flew across his console, but his heart sank as the preliminary analysis came in. These weren't just advanced weapons, they were absurd. The energy signatures made no sense, the targeting systems defied all known physics, and the control interfaces seemed like they'd require at least 4-dimensional awareness to operate. He looked up at Captain Coronis, forcing a grin. "Well, folks, looks like we're in for one hell of a party." The bridge crew stared at him in stunned silence, their eyes wide with shock. Tyler cracked his knuckles. If there was one thing humans knew how to do, it was crash someone else's party, especially when they brought such interesting new toys to play with. Getting to the Nixari mothership turned out to be easier and harder than Tyler had anticipated. Easier because no one in the history of advanced space warfare had ever tried approaching a superweapon while blasting Thunderstruck over every communication channel. Harder because, well, everything else. "I still can't believe that actually worked," Lily Whitaker commented, her voice tinged with disbelief as their boarding party raced down the enemy ship's corridors. She'd insisted on joining the mission, claiming someone needed to make sure Tyler didn't treat a doomsday weapon like the latest gaming gadget. Behind them, a squad of Coalition Special Forces, 2 Draxel, 3 Kyrix, and 1 very eager Volnari, struggled to keep up. "Classic psychological warfare," Tyler explained, glancing at his motion scanner. "Hit them with something so bizarre they waste precious seconds trying to figure out what you're doing. Works in every game I've ever played." "Contact front!" one of the Draxel shouted as a group of Nixari warriors emerged around the corner. Their black armor looked as menacing as deep space, almost absorbing the light around them. Tyler's eyes widened. "Oh man, are those quantum phase cannons? The personal version? Sweet!" "This is not the proper reaction to enemy forces," Lily Whitaker shouted, diving for cover as energy beams filled the corridor. But Tyler was already in motion, his body flowing effortlessly between the shots, moving like he had rehearsed the pattern 1,000 times. In a way, he had. The Nixari's firing pattern was practically identical to the bullet hell sections in Space Ninja Ultra. "You guys are using a standard Helix 7 covering pattern," Tyler called out to the confused Nixari troops. "Good choice for corridor defense, but it has one major flaw." To prove his point, Tyler rolled forward, slid under a burst of quantum fire, and ended up in the middle of their formation. He rose fluidly, now holding one of their weapons, which he had somehow snatched during the slide. "See?" Tyler said, examining the quantum phase cannon with a childlike glee. "If someone gets past the initial spread, you're basically handing them your weapons. Also, whoever designed this trigger mechanism is a genius. The haptic feedback is amazing." The Nixari warriors stared at him, their silence deafening. Even through their faceless helmets, Tyler could sense their confusion. One of them even lowered his weapon, tilting his head as if trying to comprehend how this primitive human had just turned their perfect defense into a personal weapon demonstration. "Oh right, the fight," Tyler muttered, pressing what he assumed was the trigger based on where his thumb naturally rested. The quantum phase cannon hummed to life, its energy core pulsing with raw power. "Sorry about this," Tyler muttered, "but you know how it is. Gotta clear the trash mobs before the boss fight." The next 30 seconds blurred into a chaotic mix of quantum energy and Tyler's increasingly creative use of video game tactics. By the time the dust settled, the Nixari warriors were all unconscious. Tyler had acquired 2 more incredibly sleek weapons, and the Coalition squad was left questioning everything they thought they knew about combat. "How did you master their weapons so quickly?" the Volnari warrior demanded, all 7 of his eyes blinking rapidly in disbelief. Tyler was already fiddling with the power settings on his newly acquired quantum phase cannon. "Are you kidding? This is like that limited edition controller I got last Christmas, except it shoots quantum death instead of just having rumble feedback. Same ergonomic design philosophy, though. Whoever these Nixari guys are, they definitely played some Earth games." Commander Lily Whitaker, her tactical display flashing with urgent data, interrupted him. "I'm picking up massive energy readings ahead. I think we found their control center." Tyler checked the charge on his weapons with a grin. "Perfect. That's definitely where they're keeping the good stuff. Want to bet their super weapon has a better user interface than these little beauties?" The entire squad groaned in unison. They had learned that whenever Tyler Blake started treating deadly weapons like gaming accessories, things were about to either get insanely awesome or catastrophically disastrous, usually both. "Just remember," Lily Whitaker cautioned as they neared the massive doors to the control center, "this isn't a game. There's no respawn point if we fail." Tyler flashed her his trademark grin, the one that had preceded some of the Coalition's most improbable victories. "Of course not. That's what makes it more fun than a game. We're playing on hardcore mode." The doors slid open to reveal a chamber that looked like an AI had been tasked with generating the most evil alien bridge imaginable, and then added every sci-fi villain cliché in existence. At the center stood a towering figure, unmistakably the Nixari commander, surrounded by what appeared to be the most complicated weapon controls any of them had ever seen. "Welcome, primitives," the commander's voice boomed across the chamber. "I see you've made it to the final level." Tyler's eyes widened in delight. "Oh my God, they really did play our games." The Nixari commander, nearly 9 feet tall, stood in their armor, which seemed to absorb the very light around them. But it wasn't the imposing figure that grabbed Tyler's attention. It was the control interface behind them. Multiple holographic displays floated in impossible configurations, each one streaming data in at least 4 dimensions. "Dibs on the shiny control panel," Tyler whispered to Lily Whitaker, who responded with a series of exasperated gestures, all 4 of her hands moving in synchronized disapproval. "You stand in the presence of Admiral Saren," the commander announced, "and you have no hope of comprehending, let alone operating our superior technology. Our quantum phase targeting system alone requires understanding of 11-dimensional space-time manipulation." Tyler squinted at the controls and then burst out laughing. "Are you kidding me? That's just a Guitar Hero controller with extra steps." The entire chamber fell into an eerie silence. Even the hum of the ship's engines seemed to pause in confusion. What? Admiral Saren took a step back in stunned disbelief. This is the most advanced weapons platform ever created. It took our finest minds centuries to perfect the neural interface alone. Yeah, very impressive, Tyler said, already inching toward the control panel, his eyes gleaming like a kid in a candy store. But look at the layout. Energy modulation on the left, targeting array in the center, power distribution on the right. Classic 3-lane setup. Bet it even has combo moves if you hit the right sequence. Our weapons are not some primitive entertainment system, Saren roared, but Tyler could hear the edge of doubt in their voice. Everything's a game if you're brave enough, Tyler replied with a grin before diving for the controls. He rolled under a blast of energy from Saren's personal weapon, came up next to the panel, and immediately began pressing buttons like he was unlocking a cheat code. The ship's weapons roared to life, but not quite as anyone had expected. Instead of the precise, devastating beams they had seen earlier, the quantum phase cannons began firing in what looked like a rhythm. "Commander Blake!" Lily Whitaker called out while returning fire at the Nixari troops flooding into the chamber. "Please tell me you're not doing what I think you're doing. If you mean programming the most powerful weapon in the galaxy to fire in sync with Through the Fire and Flames, then yes, that's exactly what I'm doing." Tyler's fingers danced across the controls like he was playing the world's deadliest arcade game. These targeting systems are basically just DDR pads with a death ray attached. Admiral Saren watched in horror as their supposed incomprehensible weapon system responded to Tyler's inputs like it was a particularly enthusiastic dance partner. "This is impossible," Saren shouted. "The neural interface alone should have fried your primitive brain." "Bold of you to assume I have enough brain cells left to fry," Tyler shot back, executing what looked like a perfect combo move. Outside the ship, the quantum phase cannons began picking off enemy vessels with terrifying precision, each shot timed perfectly to the beat of the music now blasting through the ship's communication systems. "The trick," Tyler explained, his voice casual as he continued his impromptu concert of destruction, "is to stop thinking of it as a weapon. The moment you start treating this stuff like the world's most expensive gaming setup, it all makes perfect sense." To demonstrate, he input a particularly complex sequence that made the entire ship shudder. A wave of quantum energy erupted from every cannon, forming a perfect spiral pattern that looked exactly like a special attack animation from at least 3 different Japanese RPGs. "See?" He grinned at the dumbfounded Coalition squad. "It's just like that time I beat Dark Souls using a steering wheel controller. Once you figure out the basic patterns, it's all about finding the right rhythm. And oh, hang on," he paused mid-explanation. "There's definitely an achievement for hitting all—" The quantum phase cannons hummed to life, their energy cores pulsing with raw power. "Sorry about this," Tyler muttered, not even looking up from the controls. "But you know the drill. Gotta clear the trash mobs before the boss fight." The next 30 seconds were a whirlwind of quantum energy and Tyler's increasingly imaginative use of video game tactics. By the time the chaos subsided, the Nixari warriors were unconscious. Tyler had snagged 2 more beautiful weapons, and the Coalition squad was left questioning everything they thought they knew about combat. "How did you master their weapons so quickly?" the Volnari warrior demanded, blinking his 7 eyes rapidly, still in shock. Tyler was already adjusting the power settings on his newly acquired quantum phase cannon. "Are you kidding me? This is like that limited edition controller I got last Christmas, except it shoots quantum death instead of just having rumble feedback. Same ergonomic design philosophy, though. Whoever these Nixari guys are, they must be retro gaming enthusiasts." The entire bridge of the Celestial Dawn watched in stunned silence as Tyler turned what was likely the most devastating weapon in the known universe into what seemed to be a cosmic rhythm game. Captain Coronis's crystalline form flickered between disbelief and something that might have been hysterical laughter. "Status report," the captain managed to say, still watching as enemy ships exploded in perfect synchronization with what his database identified as a guitar solo. "Sir," Commander Zarok reported, his mandibles twitching in disbelief, "Commander Blake has somehow managed to, I can't believe I'm saying this, achieve a 47-hit combo with the quantum phase cannons. Back on the Nixari vessel, Tyler was having the time of his life. "Hey, Lily Whitaker, check this out," he called out, grinning wide. "If you input the Konami code while holding down the targeting matrix, it activates something called Berserker mode." "Commander Blake," Lily Whitaker shouted back, still exchanging fire with enemy troops. "This is not the time to experiment with unknown weapon features." But it was too late. The entire ship shuddered as previously hidden weapon systems powered up. The holographic displays erupted with new, dizzying patterns that would have given a mathematician a headache. Admiral Saren stumbled backward, their imposing armor clattering against a console. "No, those systems were sealed. The command sequences were purged from our databases centuries ago." "Really?" Tyler said, his fingers flying across the controls in what looked like a cross between typing and interpretive dance. "This is literally just the button combination from Mega Blaster X. Up, up, down, down, left, right, select, start." "Well, would you look at that?" The ship's external cameras showed massive panels sliding open along its hull, revealing an entire arsenal of experimental weapons. Each one began powering up, and the sound they made reminded Tyler of every boss fight he'd ever played. "You absolute madman," Lily Whitaker breathed, momentarily forgetting about the firefight. "You're actually going to Ultra Combo time?" Tyler crowed, slamming his palm down on what he swore was designed exactly like an arcade cabinet's finish button. The resulting light show could have made a supernova feel inadequate. Every weapon on the massive ship fired simultaneously, their beams weaving in impossible patterns that shouldn't have been possible in normal space. The remaining Nixari fleet didn't so much explode as get transformed into a wild fireworks display. Admiral Saren slumped against a wall, their once feared appearance now conveying only utter defeat. How our greatest scientists spent generations perfecting these systems. The quantum harmonics alone should require years of study to grasp. "Oh, that part was easy," Tyler replied, still inputting commands with one hand while gesturing enthusiastically with the other. "The harmonics are basically like tuning a guitar in Guitar Hero, and the targeting matrix, pure bullet hell game logic. Honestly, whoever designed this must have had a killer gaming collection." Admiral Saren helmet tilted slightly. The original designer did mention something about studying Earth's primitive entertainment systems for interface inspiration. "Ha!" Tyler pointed triumphantly at Lily Whitaker. "I knew it. This is why humans should always be allowed to play with the expensive toys. We figure out all the cheat codes." Back on the Celestial Dawn's bridge, Captain Coronis watched as the last enemy ship succumbed to what his tactical display identified as a perfect 100-hit chain bonus attack. "Send a message to Coalition Command," he ordered, his crystalline form still pulsing with disbelief. Tell them that Commander Blake has discovered new applications for quantum phase technology by treating it like a really expensive video game." "Sir?" Commander Zarok asked carefully, his voice laced with concern. "Should we be worried that he's treating the most powerful weapon in known space like a musical instrument?" Before the captain could respond, Tyler's voice came through the comms again. "Hey, Cap, you're not going to believe this, but I just unlocked something called New Game Plus mode. Want to see what happens when I press this big red button marked Final Form?" The entire bridge crew collectively sighed. It was going to be a long day. 3 hours later, Tyler sat in the Celestial Dawn's briefing room, surrounded by a mix of stunned coalition officials and thoroughly confused weapons experts. On the main display, footage of his performance played on loop, sparking heated debates among the assembled aliens. "Let me get this straight," Admiral Vardor rumbled, all 4 of his arms crossed in what could have been either exasperation or admiration. "You defeated the most advanced hostile force we've ever encountered by playing their superweapon like a video game?" "More like a whole arcade cabinet, really," Tyler corrected, spinning lazily in his chair. "The quantum targeting system was basically Space Invaders meets Dance Dance Revolution. The power distribution grid was pure Guitar Hero, and the command interface, classic fighting game combo system. Whoever designed it was definitely a retro gaming fan." Admiral Saren, now a prisoner but more interested in the discussion than escape, nodded reluctantly. "Our lead engineer did spend an unusual amount of time studying Earth's entertainment history. Something about intuitive interface design and peak human engagement patterns." Tyler grinned. Told you, it's all about finding the right rhythm. Tyler gestured enthusiastically. This is what I've been trying to explain to everyone. Humans don't master weapons quickly because we're natural warriors or whatever. We do it because every weapon you guys create is basically just a really expensive toy. The assembled officials exchanged uneasy glances. A Kirik's weapons specialist raised a cautious appendage. Could you elaborate on this theory? Gladly. Tyler hopped to his feet, striding toward the display. He switched it to show various coalition weapon designs. Look at this plasma rifle. The grip is practically an Xbox controller. This battlecruiser helm? It's basically a flight simulator setup. And that fancy new targeting system you developed? It's just a more expensive version of an assist. Lily Whitaker, who had been silently observing, suddenly straightened. That's why the scans showed such high neural engagement. When humans use our weapons, they aren't relying on their instincts like we assumed. They're activating the same neural pathways they use for play. Exactly. Tyler grinned and pointed at her with finger guns. Why spend years trying to figure out how a weapon works when you can treat it like the world's most dangerous gaming console? Press all the buttons, find the right combos, unlock the cool stuff. It's just human nature. The room erupted in overlapping conversations as coalition scientists and military leaders tried to digest the new information. Admiral Vardor raised all four hands, calling for silence. Commander Blake, the admiral's voice was slow and deliberate. Are you suggesting that we've unintentionally designed our weapons to be compatible with human gaming instincts? Tyler grinned even wider. Well, yeah. I mean, think about it. What's the most intuitive way to control something complicated? Make it fun. Your engineers have accidentally tapped into millions of years of human play behavior. Every weapon you create is essentially just a really expensive toy, waiting for someone to figure out the cheat codes. Admiral Saren made a noise that might have been a laugh. This explains why my crew kept finding human entertainment references in the code. Our engineer didn't just study your games, he practically copied them. Tyler was clearly warming to the topic now. Exactly. The best part is once you start treating weapons like toys, you stop being afraid of them. And when you're not afraid of something, you get creative. Like, did you know you can make the quantum phase cannons play Sweet Child O' Mine if you sequence the firing pattern just right? The room fell silent again, broken only by Lily Whitaker's long-suffering sigh. Please tell me you didn't upload the sheet music to the ship's computer. Tyler beamed. Oh, we can have the whole fleet playing Guns N' Roses by next week. Get it? Guns? Because they're actually guns? Admiral Vardor's expression went through several stages: disbelief, confusion, and finally, resignation. I suppose this means we'll need to revise our weapons training programs. Maybe we should incorporate some of these video games into basic combat courses? Now you're getting it. Tyler rubbed his hands together gleefully. Trust me, a few rounds of Space Invaders will teach targeting basics better than any manual. Oh, and we should definitely set up multiplayer tournaments for the quantum phase cannon controls. Nothing teaches weapon mastery like a high-score competition. The Admiral looked like he was about to develop a migraine. To think, all this time we thought humans were natural warriors when, in reality, we're just really good at playing with extremely dangerous toys. Tyler finished proudly. Exactly. Now, who wants to see what happens when I try to program the main gun to play through the fire and flames on expert mode? A collective groan from the assembled officials was interrupted by dozens of urgent requests for gaming console requisitions from every coalition ship in the fleet. Somewhere, in the cosmos, the ghosts of ancient video game developers were probably chuckling to themselves. 1 month after the now infamous Guitar Hero incident, the Coalition Military Academy unveiled its latest training facility. The sign above the entrance read Advanced Weapons Mastery and Recreational Electronics Division, or as Tyler insisted on calling it, the arcade. Inside, rows of simulated weapon controls sat side by side with actual gaming consoles. Alien cadets awkwardly held controllers while human instructors explained core concepts like button mapping and combo timing. In one corner, a Kirik's weapons master was frustratedly attempting to beat Tyler's high score on the quantum phase cannon simulator, mandibles clicking in agitation as they missed yet another power cord. You're thinking about it too hard, Tyler called out, leaning against the wall, flashing his signature grin. Remember, it's not a weapon. It's just a really expensive Guitar Hero controller that happens to shoot quantum death beams. Admiral Vardor approached, looking both impressed and slightly concerned at the organized chaos. The latest combat efficiency reports are in, Commander Blake. After implementing your unique training methods, weapon mastery rates have improved by 300% across all species. See? Tyler gestured toward a group of Volnari cadets, celebrating their first successful combo attack on the simulator. Everyone knows how to play. Some people just forget they know it. Lily Whitaker, now officially the Gaming Combat Integration Specialist, a title Tyler had insisted on, walked up with a datapad in hand. The Nixari engineers finally finished their debriefing. Apparently, their entire weapons development program was based on studying Earth's gaming industry. They just never expected anyone to recognize the control schemes. Tyler chuckled. Their mistake was making it too accurate. The moment I saw that quantum targeting system, I knew someone had spent way too many hours playing bullet hell games. Across the room, Admiral Saren, now a surprisingly enthusiastic consultant for the program, was explaining to a group of cadets how they had accidentally designed their superweapons interface based on a treasure trove of classic Earth games. The power distribution grid was inspired by rhythm games, Saren said, their once feared armor now adorned with gaming patches. We thought the pattern matching, Admiral Saren's voice trailed off, would make it impossible for other species to master. Instead, we basically built the galaxy's most dangerous dance revolution machine. Tyler's grin never wavered. Speaking of which, he piped up, wait until they see what I did with the fleet's new point defense system. Turns out you can program them to run Doom. Lily Whitaker's many eyes widened in horror. Commander Blake, please tell me you didn't actually modify military hardware to run ancient human games. Of course not! Tyler feigned shock for about half a second before his grin returned. Well, I modified ancient human games to run military hardware. There's a difference. Also, you should see what happens when you boot up the targeting computer with the Konami code. I added rainbow effects to the laser cannons. Admiral Vardor emitted a sound that was somewhere between an exasperated sigh and a surprised chuckle. I suppose this means we'll need to update the Coalition Military Handbook, add a new section. In case of emergency, press start. At that moment, the facility's speakers crackled to life, and the opening riffs of Through the Fire and Flames blasted throughout the room. It wasn't from a speaker system. No, this was entirely created by synchronized quantum phase cannon fire from the orbital defense grid. Tyler had finally managed to turn the fleet's weaponry into a full-on orchestra. You know, Lily Whitaker commented, glancing at a group of alien cadets fumbling with space dark souls on the combat simulators. Maybe this isn't as bad as we thought. If we have to fight wars, at least we can make them look amazing. Tyler raised an eyebrow. I was going to say slightly less terrifying, but sure. Lily Whitaker took a moment to collect her thoughts, then fixed him with a pointed gaze. Just promise me one thing. What's that? Tyler asked, looking innocent, though his grin was barely contained. When you inevitably figure out how to make the dimensional drives play Mario Kart sounds, she started, please warn me before you test it. I don't want to be in hyperspace when you press that button. Tyler gave her an exaggerated look of innocence. Would I do something like that without warning? Every alien in earshot responded in perfect unison. Yes, but there was no malice in their voices. In fact, most of them were smiling. In a universe filled with dangerous, expensive toys, it certainly didn't hurt to have someone around who knew how to play with them. The end. And somewhere, deep within the quantum realm, a very confused programmer was wondering why the fabric of space-time occasionally made the distinct waka waka sound from Pac-Man.